So one more time on multiple cameras here. So welcome back to the show. Today I would like to strip away the fitness industry, marketing stuff, and exposing the underlying hardware of human metabolism here. And if you are listening to this right now, chances are you felt the frustration as well as I do. Doing everything right lately, and even watching your scale, you're refusing, to bend over, or maybe you're an athlete who just, hit physical wall, what we call, bunking and stagnate, right when you need the explosive energy the most. And the question is, why does the modern human body seems to hardwire to fail us when it comes to body composition and sustained energy system? Is the stuff that I would like to address here. And even then, according to the World Health Organization, the global obesity rates have more than doubled since the 1980s. Right now, even the billions of adults are classified as overweight people. And the standard baseline narrative you have been fed up is simply the math, of course, that the man needs roughly 2,500 calories per day and the woman 2,000 calories per day. And if you exceed that, you'll get fat, calories in versus the calories out, done deal. And that's it. But if it's not just a simple math, why does your training, stay shredded? Some of the people stay shredded eating whatever they want, while you on the other side, are looking at that piece of the birthday cake and you just, um, mentioning you will gain some of the fat in your waistline. But the truth is that your calories equation isn't operating in a pure vacuum system here. It is dictated by an intricate interplay of over 400 different genes governing your satiety rate, your resting energy expenditure, your stress-induced cravings, and your fat storage, of course, and fat distribution. So for some of you, of course, genetics predisposition can also dictate up to 80% of your weight reality, not to forget. But here's also the real evolutionary plot twist that I believe in. The thrifty genes, hypothesis here. For over 200,000 years of Homo sapiens history, our ancestors survived because their bodies were basically the elite machines back then, as storing fat during the times of environmental scarcity and crisis. So when the hunt, failed, the humans who could store fats, they survived, and the ones who couldn't, they died. So you are direct descendants of those survivors, of course, as well as I am. And we carry an evolutionary adaptation designed to protect our body from starvation. And our body is designed like that. But in today's environment, where also high calorie, hyper palatable processed food is available 24/7, and modern technology has the systematically strip that physical labor out of our daily movement, so we don't have to hunt, so that pattern is gone. And those thrifty genes, have become an evolutionary curse to ourselves. So our environmental is constantly programming, you to store fat, to store energy, while your biology on the other side assumes that a famine is right around the corner. So today, I would like to talk about how to hack that system, and try to override that evolutionary trap and unlock a state of total metabolic flexibility. So please stay tuned, because this is everything that is involved in my book as well here, so I will mention also. And by the end of this episode, I think you will understand exactly how to turn your body from strict sugar burn models into an unstoppable fat burning machine. So first things first, to understand how to reverse all of this, we have to look at the cellular level and the cellular fuel crisis. So when you consume a standard high carbonated modern diet, your body breaks those carbs down into glucose. Of course, glucose is a fast fuel resource for our body, but it has a massive design flaw, which is storage capacity. So your body can only store about really roughly 2,000 calories of glucose energy as glycogen in your skeletal muscles and the liver as well. So the second that tiny reservoir is depleted, your brain will start to panic. So your energy crashes, then you're probably going to hit the wall of the energy source and your biology, going to scream for an immediate hit of, fast acting sugar to replenish those stores. So this is the sugar burning roller coaster, as we all know. And every time you dump that glucose into your system, your pancreas secretes a dominant hormone, which is insulin, and you should think of insulin as a one-way traffic cop. Its entire job is to clear out the glucose out of your blood, to prevent the cellular damage. So it drives that glucose into your muscles for fuel, or it shuts straight into your fat cells, to be stored as adipose tissue. But here's a critical physiological law that most people are missing out. As long as your insulin levels are chronically elevated, your body cannot and will not burn that stored fat for fuel. So that metabolic door to your fat stores is locked. So and it's it's going to be very tightly from the inside. On a started diet, as we all know, which is high carb, can also lead to a high insulin, which forces also even more the fat storage and keeps you on that blood sugar roller coaster. So how can we, do pick the lock and open that door so we can eliminate, all of those triggers? So we starve the body, of course, of carbohydrates to maintain that modern protein and scale up with the high quality fats here. So when the carbs in this situation will drop, so insulin will plummet. And when insulin drops, your liver is finally liberated to break down that fat stores into free fatty acids. The secondary here, as a byproduct of these fat burning processes, is a molecular masterpiece that I like to address also within my book. So this is the ketone bodies, specifically acetate or beta hydrobutyrate and acetone, so ketones that are very clean, very highly concentrated alternative fuel sources that is also available to our body and that easily cross the blood-brain barrier to give your heart, your organs, and your brain a steady, uncrashable energy source. And under this keto blueprint, that low carbs are also going to be equal low insulin level in your body, which unlocks also the ketone production and sustained that fat burning models in your body. So and this isn't an artificial biohacking of your body. So all of the Homo sapiens, so the vast majority of our evolutionary timeline, they're in natural ketogenic state through all of their life, basically, because of the system how they live in. But the issue is that your modern metabolism has become very lazy from decades of constant sugar exposure and processed foods that we have available. So it takes anywhere from 3 to 8 weeks on a strict ketogenic diet protocol, of course, for your cells to rebuild themselves to become that enzymatic machinery required to become very truly also fat adapted machine. But once you cross over that barrier, your hunger will diminish. Your cravings for garbage food will also evaporate, and you will unlock a very limitless fuel tank for your own body. The fat storage, of course. So if you get tactical here, and if you want to force your body into this metabolical state, so you have to understand the boundaries. And this isn't like a lower carb diet where you just eat, fewer slices of bread, and it is an absolute metabolical shift defined, by macronutrient intake and thresholds where, are gonna just change the fuel sources there. There are four primary ways structural. So first, there is also a standard ketogenic diet source. So your baseline is like probably around 75% of your fat intake, 20% of protein, and only strictly 5% of carbohydrates. Second, there is a high protein ketogenic diet where it's like around 60% of fat intake, 35% of protein, and only 5% of carbs. Phenomenal for preserving lean tissue and muscle mass while, driving down that body fat and using it as a source. The thirdly and fourthly are targeted and cyclical ketogenic diets, which are very advanced protocols used mostly by like high performance athletes and bodybuilders. Even then, mostly also like women, where carbs are strategically reinforced and needed around the explosive training, specific periodization models, and for the women, for the menstrual cycles. So if you are a beginner, your immediate goal is to lower your totally daily carbohydrate intake, strictly if you want to go by numbers, like around 35 grams. So keeping the net carbs under, very low intake. And at the same time, you should not try to fall into the classic Atkins trap, or overconsumpting of protein without eating enough fat. So the fat also need to be on a higher scale here. And if you dump the massive amounts of protein into your system without fat, your liver will convert those amino acid into glucose. So not to forget. So this is a pathway that is called glycogenesis, and it's very effectively kicking you straight out of the ketosis, and then you practically haven't done anything. So your body will store that glucose. So how do you know you successfully crossed that threshold? Your physiology will tell you, the truth throughout that clean biofeedback markers that you're gonna have. You should look for frequent urination. As your insulin drops, your kidneys will rapidly dump that excess fluid and store glycogen water. So you should look for that. You should also look for dry mouth, and you should feel very thirsty very often, directly also as a result of that sudden fluid shift. You should also, in a ketosis, expect some keto breath. So a bad breath and a temporary, that a fruit-like or metallic scent caused by the exertion of acetone throughout your lungs. And finally, not to forget that mental clarity the moment your brain shifts from velocities of glucose to a steady ketones, you're going to feel that shift. So, but we have to talk about, the adaptation tax. So, the ketoful is one of the main sources. So when the beginners, they drop their carbs, they often experience headaches, fatigueness, nausea, and brain fog within the first week. So this isn't like any kind of viral infection. It is really an acute electrolyte deficiency in our body in that situation, because every single gram of glycogen in our body is bound to practically 3 grams of water. So the moment you burn your glycogen stores, your body flushes that fluid as well, and along with it, your essential reserves of sodium, potassium, magnesium, and all of the minerals to kill the keto flu is, of course, on track, and you must proactively replenish your electrolytes with salt yeah, and in your food as well with high quality Himalayan or any other colored um, salt, maybe even sip of a bone broth to prioritize that electrolyte sources. Even then, maybe like leafy greens, like avocado, nuts, but salmon. So you have to do it basically on a daily basis in order to, have that replenish. So why should we do this? Of course, weight loss is a spectacular side effect, but the true power for me of a well-formulated ketogenic diet lies specifically in that cellular health and that very good pragmatic and systematic anti-inflammation guide and the source of that cognitive enhancements. So when you constantly flood your bloodstream with refined carbohydrates, I believe that you create a very chronic blood sugar spikes, and this can trigger that oxidative stress and systematic inflammation across your entire system. And the chronic inflammation, of course, is the root engine behind brain fog, behind anxiety, all of the systematical injuries and diseases. So you name it, joint pain, long-term metabolic diseases. Ketones, on the other side, are an entirely different breed of fuel. So you don't just supply the potassium 3-phosphate, for example, as an energy source. They act very good as a powerful signaling molecules that actively downregulate inflammatory pathways and clean up all those oxidative cellular damage. So think about it for a moment. Not to forget your brain. Immediately replenish the energy for the brain. So it presents around 2% of your total body mass, yet it's very aggressively consumers over like 20% of your daily metabolic energy. So expenditure, not to forget. So when you fuel the brain excessively with glucose, you're subjecting it to a constant that micro fluctuations in energy sources. Ketone bodies, on the other side, specifically beta-hydroxybutyrate, provide a very steady, hyper-efficient stream of clean energy source to your neurons. Furthermore, even then, this triggers an increased expenditure of brain-derived neurotropic factor, or as you know it as BDNF factor, and upgrades the regulation of that GABA in the brain. So BDNF factor is essentially a miracle, how should I call it, for our brain. So it stimulates that neuroplasticity. It can also protect against a cognitive decline with aging. It can also repair the neural connection between the neurons and systematically eliminating that frustrating, afternoon brain fog when we felt, a declination in our performance. But just beyond that, if you look at the lipid profile in our reality, so the old school outdated that medical dogma with the high-fat diet, Marcus, that is very bad for us. But in modern data-driven, science shows us that a high-fat, lower-carb, and steady protocol with protein and consistently optimizing your cardiovascular markers. So that diet has been proved that works. So it can also, the list goes on and on. So the triglycerides are also elevating the good cholesterol in our body. Not to forget the particle that mitigates, that arterial plaque buildup in our body. So to break down all of those biomarkers systematically, within that inflammation sees a significant reduction via lower oxidative stress on the other side, and keto signaling. So the cognitive, that's a BDNF factor with the GABA levels are very upgraded, and they are enhancing neuroprotection focus in our brain. And with the serum of triglycerides expenditure, there is also a drastic a decline in a fat utilization for fuel. Back then, that is can be much more scaling and optimizing dead particles. So those ratios are very important. So we are building practically that metabolical shield against that chronic diseases by drastically improving insulin sensitivity. And this can allow your cellular receptors to recover much more faster from the decades of carbohydrate diet and their abuse. But now, how do we take from here, as a fat burning power of the ketogenic diet and supercharge it to break also that barrier? I think we need to pair it with the natural evolutionary biological partner. So this is where the connection between the ketogenic diet and fasting comes along. So the intermittent fasting, it's not a starvation diet. So it's a very highly structured strategy that alternates, all of the defined windows of feeding and fasting in between, of course. And while modern fitness culture treats this like a trend with the new lifestyle hack, it's a very ancient biological mechanism that is even, deeply embedded within our DNA. And when you pair a ketogenic diet with intermittent fasting here, we have very powerful toolkit here. So, and this relationship within the fasting forces, of course, your body to rapidly exhaust its remaining liver and muscle glycogen stores, and this accelerates the drop in insulin, which is then driving your liver to turn on that high concentration of ketones and start producing them much more faster than within some standard ketogenic diet could ever achieve on its own. So if you're looking to break the stubborn belly fat and to even cross that plateau, I think this combination is the best option that it can be out there. So if you look at the most accessible protocols, just the standard 16-8 protocol of the ketogenic diet within the intermittent fasting is the baseline gold standard here. So you restrict your daily feeding window to an 8-hour period and fast completely for the remaining 16 hours. We also have, there is an alternate day fasting or 5-2 fasting, which is more aggressive protocol designed also to break several metabolic plateaus and maximize the cellular resilience for the people who maybe have some chronic diseases. And the fat fasting is a specialized strategy where you consume microscopic portions of pure, high-quality fats during a fasting window because your liver cannot distinguish dietary fat from metabolizing stored body fat. So your systematic biology remains entirely in a fasted state. So the crown of intermittent fasting is basically a cellular processes called, the autophagy. And you can think of the autophagy as your body internal recycling program. So when your system is constantly busy digesting food here for like 6 times a day, practically it never has time to clean the house, and the cellular junk was simply accumulating over the time. But when you enter an extended fasting window for within your diet, so your cells will turn much more inward, and they will activate the so-called autophagy. They will begin searching for damaged proteins, dysfunctional mitochondria, and precancerous cellular material here. And they will start breaking them down to recycle them for raw cellular energy. And this intercellular cleaning and mitochondrial repair rejuvenates, of course, your immune system much more highly. And it downregulates the systematic cancer reactive protein and optimizes your gut, not to forget. So the gut microbiome is very important here, reinforcing the integrity of gastrointestinal lining. So it optimizes your biological clock, ensuring that your fat-burning genes are optimized, firing at its peak within much more efficiency here. But throughout a 24-hour cycle of fasting, for example, it's even more exposed. But let's try to address the elephant in the room here. If you want to talk about the exercise and performance within this diet, there is a pure widespread of incredibly lazy myths in a sport and nutrition that cycles around us, and it's absolutely need that massive amounts of daily carbs to perform as its high physical level. And so I would like to break down the actual biomechanics on working out into ketosis. So when you exercise, your physiology is broadly split into two distinct energy systems. Firstly, most of them is in aerobic exercises, aerobical state. So low to moderate intensity, then you have the, here I mentioned the steady state cardio, like running, cycling, swimming, etc. Any kind of, but the fat is the absolute preferred substrate for aerobic output here. And then we have the ultra endurance athletes show that fat adaptive competitions, they're burning up 2 to 3 times more fat per minute during a sustained output session compared to to a high carb athletes. In most of these situations, they don't hit the wall because they are fueling their stride directly from their vast stored of adipose tissue. So you need to understand that. Secondly, we have the anaerobic exercising. So this is the high intensity, short bursting, explosive power outburst, like heavy lifting, high intensity interval training, sprinting. So these systems naturally uses a fast acting glycogen in the initial 2 to 3 weeks of transitioning into a keto, and your explosive anaerobic power here output might experience a brief dip as your body shifts that cellular machinery from glucose to keto. But once you reach your full keto adaptation, your liver upgrades its glycogenesis pathways to preferably match and replenish necessary muscle glycogen levels directly from non-carb sources. So your muscles maintain their structure, your recovery markers will improve, and you experience significantly less, post-workout muscle soreness, because the ketos will definitely lower some toxins from ammonia accumulation in your bloodstream and the muscle tissue as well. And if you're a highly active individual, competitive athlete, not to forget, or looking, to maximize just raw explosive output while staying deeply locked into a lean body composition, you can introduce a carbohydrate cycling, of course. And the carb cycling into this diet allows you to strategically match your needs of carbohydrate intake directly to your training volume and intensity when it's required. And on your most brutal, high intensity training days and competition, you can, intentionally, scale up your complex, clean carbohydrate intake to optimize the muscle glycogen replenishment and everything that comes with it. But on the other side, on the rest days, or light active days or recovery days, you can drop your carb intake back down, so below that strict keto threshold, forcing your body right back into a deep ketogenic state and ketone production. So this builds an elite level of metabolic flexibility, of course, which is very good. So you can bridge that gap and maximize this entire adaptation of using the smart processes of replenishing with both energy systems here. But what about the supplementation? If you have heard for the MCT oil specifically, like pure caprylic acid of C8, it can bypasses, the traditional digestion, hitting straight into your liver, to be intensely converted into a massive spike of clean blood ketones within hours, of course. And that high quality omega-3 fatty acids are very essential for maintaining that tight anti-inflammatory response by omega-3s, omega-6, omega-9s ratio, while consuming besides that also your high-fat dieting protocol. And if you take the vitamin D3, which is also in a combination with a very targeted probiotics, it's very crucial for optimizing your calcium absorption here. That can maintain the very good and strong bone mineral density and preserving that elite gut macroflora on a base level that is required to that pathway shift. I believe that we have covered with this talk the deepest layers of metabolic science, but we also mentioned the genetic mismatch of the thrifty genes, which is exposed, the insulin trap that locks us away from, from using that fat as energy. And, we mapped out the exact blueprint, to align that ketogenic diet in a combination with intermittent fasting, in a combination also with the human movement, of course, throughout the session into that cohesive data driven lifespan. And if you want to get results, your way throughout starvation, you're counting every single grain of rice and the calorie on your plate. It's more about, understanding here the underlying biological operating system here of your body and giving it into the exact environmental signals to respond, to reflect, and to recognize its needs to, to thrive, to repair, and to burn that fat naturally. But listen to your body, salting your food, staying aggressively hydrated throughout the day, like me here. Also prioritizing high quality organic proteins and healthy fats. Fats are very good. And compressing your daily eating windows for the beginning, it will completely transform your physical reality from the inside out. I know it have done for me. And if you really want the complete step-by-step master plan here for everything we discussed today, please don't hesitate to contact me. I will also include all of the exact scientific breakdowns with all of the comprehensive tracking metrics to target it, the keto lifestyle within all of the groceries, with all of the carbohydrate cycling, with all of the schedules, and the entire archive of high performance keto recipes, of course, that is also available in my book. I will give it to you. I will lay it down to you for the greater good. So my book here, The Ketogenic Diet and the Strategies to have mastered the ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting, is, not to forget, is also officially available for purchase right now on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited or Amazon Prime. So it is your ultimate, wish if you want to have this blueprint, to taking your life under totally and absolute control, especially because of your metabolism and trying to really unlocking that boundless cognitive power and trying to reach that big physical shape. So grab your copy today. I will put the link into my bio here. So please start executing these strategies immediately and watch how fast your biology responds when you're finally give the right fuel to the body to works as it should be. So thanks again for tuning in into the Let's Get Moving podcast. Keep moving, keep tracking, and we will see you on the next episode. Stay tuned. Lots of interesting guests are coming in. So until the next time, I love you all and take care of yourself. Bye bye.